Hi guys, let's talk about 5 reasons parents get really nervous and freak out in the hospital and those first few days at home. First 5 reasons are their baby is sneezing, their baby has those eye fluttery movements, baby is jittery, or baby has the hiccups, and finally, your baby won't stop crying and wants to be on the breast constantly. Rest assured, all of these things are actually normal, but they are scary if you don't know that they are normal. So let's get into it. Sneezing. I have babies that constantly sneeze when they are born, and parents will call me and be very concerned that their baby has a cold, which is fair because if adults sneeze or even our older children sneeze, we panic. We think we're sick. Thinking your newborn is sick is a whole different level of panic. But rest assured, baby has been swimming for 9 months, and whether baby came out in a C-section or vaginally, the good news is they have a lot of leftover fluid that they need to clear, and how they do that is by sneezing. So their nose just in and of itself is really small, but when you give that extra water in there, it creates that sneezing sensation, and that's where that comes from, especially even while they're eating. So lots of parents will notice the sneezing while they're eating, but no Flonase needed. It's usually just amniotic fluid and a little bit of a very small nasal passage problem. Mix those two together and you've got a lot of sneezing. Number 2, babies are really jittery for a few reasons during those newborn days, especially those first few hours. And here is a couple reasons. The first one, and maybe the newest reason we're seeing, is antidepressants, SSRIs in pregnancy especially. So obviously your risk and your benefits for taking an SSRI during pregnancy, your Lexapro, your Effexor, those things, and know that the jitteriness from babies coming off of those after they're born is very short-lived and usually pretty minimal. Again, that's something your midwife and your OB can just because a baby's born doesn't mean all of its internal systems have completely matured. This especially goes for their nervous system. So their nervous system is growing crazy fast, like insanely fast. And part of that and firing off neurons to nerves and all of these new things that baby is having to do makes them jittery. It can make them have shaky legs, shaky arms, just startle really easily. That's where some of these reflexes come from. And it is just blatant startle reflex. So a lot of times if your nurse is talking to you, she will say, I'm checking for the startle reflex. It's something that they do. And just that initial newborn assessment. It's when you pick up baby, especially after they've been swaddled and arms pop out like that. And that is the startle reflex. Again, it's just part of their nervous systems being immature, but it is kind of sad when it goes away because you know your baby is getting a little older. So I always remember unswaddling my babies and they'd be like this. And then when they stopped doing that, I was like, oh, they're growing up. So another jitteriness can also be in a sleep cycle. So different parts of sleep cycles, babies make fluttering eye movements, jitteriness, sudden movements, crazy little noises. And again, it's all just really part of that nervous system being immature and them going through their sleep cycle. That's about it. Okay, another one, again, kind of going back to that mom and dad think baby has a cold, is the loud breathing you can hear from baby. And again, rest assured, 95% of the time, it is not because baby is ill, it's because their nose is so tiny and it has fluid in it and it causes them to breathe quite loudly. Babies are nose breathers anyway, so they have not much of a passage, making them a louder sleeper. If this really bothers you, which some moms do have a difficult time staying asleep because they're worried baby is waking up, you can do a few things. Turn up your sound machine, or even just have you move to the other side of the bed if baby's in bassinet on one side. I have had multiple children and some were louder than others, but just part of who they are. Finally, we have cluster feeding. And this one, I wish we prepared moms for more than we do. Because so many times moms think when this is happening, they are doing something wrong or there is something wrong, and that isn't it at all. What's actually happening is a really great thing and gives me reassurance that you're actually doing something right and baby's on the right track. So what is cluster feeding, you ask? It's those times in those first few days is where you think you have breastfed baby plenty, you lay baby down, and 20 minutes later, maybe less than that, baby is crying and awake and wants to be back on the breast. And this happens the first few times to bring your milk in, because the more baby is stimulating your breast, the more milk you are going to make. And that is what baby is doing. Every time she stimulates that, all she's doing is sending messages through your body saying, hey, I'm born, let's go. So cluster feeding in those first few days, I'm talking day 1, 3, 5, is for that purpose. And then after that, and a little bit of that, but especially after day 5, cluster feeding is because what started out as a belly in your baby, about the size of my pinky finger, maybe a little bit bigger, is baby's belly is expanding rapidly. It's expanding rapidly, and that means that these first few weeks, when it's expanding the fastest it will throughout their entire lives, they're gonna wanna bring in more milk. And to do that, you have to have stimulation to your nipple. So as they grow, obviously they hold more milk, but they have to tell your body milk. And to do that, they're going to want to be on your breast. So anytime that belly is seeing an uptick in growth, which again, in those first few weeks is a lot, you're gonna kind of notice this cluster feeding. Now, it is exhausting, and being prepared for what it's going to look like is key. I want moms to go home and, as much as possible, like be able to just park themselves in one spot and sit there, and people can come visit if they want visitors right beside them, and their husband, support, whatever, can help and bring food, snacks, whatever. These little carts that I see, I think they are a wonderful idea, if not for anything else, just cluster feeding. So I hope that was helpful in calming your nerves about these first few days with a newborn. Again, if you ever are worried, please call your pediatrician, your OB, your midwife, whatever. They would love to help you. And if they're not, you need a new one. So hope you all have a wonderful day, and please comment below any questions you have, and absolutely don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Bye guys.